The hardest thing was learning that Google is the master of the internet.
That's Marc Pitts, founder of Discount Vape Pen. Keep watching to hear the story behind the $20 eBay listing that started it all. So I'm fascinated by your story. Tell the audience a little bit about what it is that you do and how the heck you even got there.
Yeah, so between myself and two other partners, we run Discount Vape Pen, which is a online vape shop, mostly just the devices and components. I was very into the e-commerce boom, when it was coming about. This is something that I've always kind of wanted to get into, building something on the internet.
How did you get from I want to build something on the internet to discounted vaping pen?
It starts with right after high school. I I when I go into college, I went for marketing, and this is 2007, 2008. So this is, the beginning of the iPhone. This is really the boom of apps, the craze around things like Farmville. So I went looking, hoping that I can get into that field. I was always into business. So all throughout high school, I knew I was going to go into one of these business fields. So I went into marketing, and you go through the early couple years of, just getting some of the fundamentals, not really heavy into the core marketing stuff. And I was always asking, when we get to it. And when I finally start getting into the core classes, I realized very quickly that they had not come to the present. They were still very much talking about billboards and the different types of commercials. You slice of life, you got this, you got that, print media, which still works, but nothing in the curriculum had anything to do with internet marketing. Apps was even newer, hadn't made it to those textbooks. And I had just had this feeling like, if I'm going to get into this, I got to just go. So I left school, and then I started in the blog sphere, affiliate marketing. There's so much affiliate marketing going on.
Right, right.
Uh,
And there still is, right? Would you say that it seems like it's amplified tenfold, but for you to get into affiliate marketing back in 2007-ish, like that's pretty progressive. Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. It was early. Like now it looks so much better than it did before. It was like, put your email in and win a chance to get a, PlayStation 3 or whatever was out at the time. So I did that, but I was always wanted to build my own website. Learned a little bit took a HTML for Dummies book, started, dabbling, making blogs and making this and that here. And then I also got into eBay selling. So this is bringing us to where we are today. So I got into eBay, and I would sell knickknacks, whatever I could find that was really cheap that I could buy a lot of. And a friend of mine, he gave me this device, and it was weird. It looked like a memory stick, like a USB stick, just a little bit bigger. And he was telling me, he was like, hey, out in California, they use they're vaping over there with this, whatever. I'm like, this is strange, but I understood it right away. Like it made a lot of sense to me. So what I did was I bought a couple of them. They were both like, it was like two of them. They were $10 each. So it was my $20. I threw it up on eBay, and almost immediately it sold. So, from there, I just was thinking, okay, maybe this is something I could do, sell on the side to supplement a bill or something like that. And bought a couple more and sold again. And then I told my partner about it, like, yo, check this thing out. It's pretty interesting. And they just kept selling. And then after about a month, we were looking at it like, this could be something we could really build upon. And then we both put our money together, and we started Discount Vape Pen, the website, all based off that.
Very cool. So what year was that you put in the $20 eBay listing?
That would have been uh, end of 2013.
Okay. Fast forward to today, do you still utilize eBay or any Facebook Marketplace or any selling other than your website? Or how are you getting your sales today?
Now it's strictly off the website. At that point in time, back in 2014, this was still very new. So there wasn't anything. It was, just open season on it. Like if you could get your hands on it and sell it, you could do whatever you want. So it hadn't yet been taxed. Right. So
Gotcha.
there were no regulations that existed. And that was like that for a couple of years, actually, while, the industry is becoming something.
As you've become more and more progressively successful in this,
Mhm.
what roadblocks did you face that you had to overcome as you continue to grow your business?
The first ones were the sourcing. I'll
Oh,
give you a couple of them. So there was sourcing the product at that time, since there wasn't such bigger name brands. The brands that did exist were all overseas. So you had to place these orders from China or anywhere more or less in the to try and get here. And so you're staying up at after midnight because it's the morning there, trying to place these orders, and you got to wait, all this time, or you're adding little things on there to drop your cost. So, it was a logistical thing, finding distributors, and that was probably the first hard part, because you had to make a large cash investment and pretty much like, just hope, because this is the first time anybody's like sending wires overseas, and there's
yep.
no guarantees on anything. So it was a lot of like nail biting in the beginning. But, after maybe 3 or 4 weeks, you get your delivery, and you gotta, now you gotta sell it to people who this is their first time coming across this kind of product. So that was a big challenge. And then later on, once I would say about 2018 and beyond, once the regulations started to come and the taxes started to come, you had to get licensing. You got to get licensing in every state that you could sell in. The states themselves are creating laws and have no idea what the thing is. So the laws are changing day by day. It even still is this way now. And you know, when the regulations became known as a tobacco product. So now, banks are like, this isn't the type of account that you can have for this. So we had to overcome the banking issue at one point too, which was difficult.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So you face a lot of hurdles, but
Mhm.
you continue to be successful. So, looking at where you're at today, if you could rewind the clock, what advice would you give the younger Marc Pitts
Mm.
as you have now experienced it? What would you give yourself advice if you started all over?
Yeah, I would say, instead of trying to become, the superstore, the Walmart of the vaping world, just create a brand. Find one product, design it, because you know what people are interested in. Even then, a lot of it is centered around, discretion. You don't want something all bright and shiny, which is nice, but you want something a little more chic, something slim that could slide into a pocket. So design, a product and build a brand around it, instead of trying to, you know, beat everyone with pricing. And, because that's really a race to the bottom once everything becomes mainstream.
Yeah. Oh, great advice. I like that. So, what are the biggest lessons that you learned growing a business without any seed money? I mean, this is really impressive. You didn't
Yeah.
have to borrow anything.
Big lesson is to don't eat out a lot. It takes up all your money, and you're going to need that for inventory. So, really, really learning how to save and manage your money as best as possible. That was a huge lesson.
It seems to resonate amongst a lot of entrepreneurs that are successful is that they gave up time and money early on to be very
Mm.
successful and gain time and money after that success came to fruition. So yeah, good advice. But what's interesting to me as well is you use platforms like Reddit to actually help build the roadmap for your product expansion. Explain to me, to the listeners, a little bit about Reddit and how you incorporated that unique angle into building your brand.
Well, since I would say 2018, you could no longer use traditional advertising methods. Even though, online advertising, I wouldn't consider traditional.
And wait, that's
Yeah.
just to clarify because of the vaping pens that you sell have the marijuana in it, and that's regulated. Is that what you were referring to?
Well, more or less. So the pen is I would say three components, right?
Okay.
You have the device itself, which is no different than a Duracell battery with a nice case on it. And then you have the things that connect to the device. So, if you're into marijuana, you go to a dispensary, you buy a cartridge, and then you connect it to the vape. At that time, you had uh, you had to build a lot. It was very, very technical, but then they began making disposable vapes where you have the nicotine already involved. For the bulk of our existence as a company, it's really just been about nicotine. The marijuana, the THC hadn't come into the light until only recently, over the last few years. I mean, yes, if you were California, you still had access to dispensary, but for the majority of the country, it was just a nicotine thing.
So going back to Reddit, that's what you're referring to, is that you were handcuffed with traditional advertising due
Mm,
to the nicotine and other
right.
components. Okay,
So we were considered a tobacco organization. We had to have tobacco licenses. So
gotcha.
it went against, all the social media terms and conditions, prohibited use Google. You can't do it there. You're not going to do well on a billboard. So all the traditional ways of trying to promote your business are cut off to us. So we have to go the route of forums like Reddit, where there is a large gathering of individuals about the same topic, and we can discuss and share our knowledge about the product, about what's good, what's bad, where to stay away from, like how to, a bunch of how to's, things like that to drive traffic. Same thing with YouTube for a time. YouTube for a time was great for us because these devices were very technical. So we would make, and we still do, make a lot of how to videos.
Okay.
But our first channel, which was massive for us with, millions of views on just the basics of how to turn the device on and off, was shut down around the time of, you know, when the regulations came about. We have them now. It's a much smaller channel than it used to be. So then we also will go the route of writing blogs and different articles to do the same thing. And we have to go and try to gather traffic the organic way, just finding where people are that are interested, but we can't pay for it. We can't do paid advertising. So that is, that's how we, market ourselves out there now.
On your journey, what's some of the best or worse
Mhm.
advice that you ever received that you either took or didn't take?
The best advice would probably be in the realm of, staying in your lane. We would come across a lot of individuals who are interested in the industry, who would give us advice for things that work for other industries. I guess a better way to say it is to say that what works for someone else won't actually work for you.
Right.
So we would get a lot of advice, and a lot of times it would just lead to us having some spending where we didn't need to. And then when it comes to the best advice, I would say, hmm, that's you get a lot of bad advice, I should say. But no, the best advice would be to try and play by the rules as best as you can, because of the industry, what it has become, or the sentiment behind vaping. There's a lot of negative story about it. There are a lot of bad actors in the industry who are not following the rules. So the bad advice would be to, hey, don't even worry about it. You're gonna be fine. You're gonna make plenty, and follow what they do. Just be, cowboys out here, and that's really bad, because they do end up getting into some trouble. So we've always stayed the course of following the rules.
Right,
It
right.
only works best.
Yeah, good advice. So where do you see two-part question. Where do you
Mhm.
see the industry going in the next 5, 10 plus years? And to that note, where do you see you taking this company in the 5, 10, 15 years?
In the next 5, 10, I would say a lot of the industry will be most likely absorbed by, at least the nicotine part is going to be absorbed by, the big players, the tobacco companies that have been around for a long time. They're in the industry now. They gave us a lot of push in the beginning, or like, push away in the beginning, but now they're what you see on shelves. They're pretty much the only companies that have approved this, approved that when it comes to the tobacco aspect. And so I just see they're probably to swallow up a lot of the industry. And same thing with the states. The states are throwing out new taxes and regulations like on a weekly basis. So a lot of the industry is probably going to be absorbed that way, where you have to go through very expensive and long license processes. For us, we are in the middle of, or basically at the tail end of a shift where we don't want that kind of stress. That kind of stress, even though these products sell, aren't really worth it to us because we're a little bit older now. We have families. Like there's no need for us to go so hard at something that is just, a huge obstacle. It takes away a lot of time and stresses you out. So we are leaving the realm of tobacco, I should say. We are coming to that point where we're now going to develop the brand where we can do it with a device, a battery device, because that has never been a problem. It's always been whatever the material is in the vape itself that has caused issues.
Gotcha. Smart. Real smart. Speaking of family, being your own self-made entrepreneur and being successful at it, would you tell your children, your young son or daughter, encourage them rather to become their own entrepreneur, or would you prefer to have them play it the safe route and go work for a corporation with the benefits and stable pay and all that stuff?
I would say I would recommend them to go the route of the entrepreneur. I mean, it's a tough road, but what you learn about yourself is like sped up. You have to, kind of figure yourself out really quickly because you are, what's behind the whatever business you create, whatever anything
Yeah.
that you create. So the better you know yourself, the better you'll be able to, move through the different hurdles and make it to those milestones in the business.
So you talked about figuring yourself out. What did you figure out about yourself that maybe surprised you or that just confirmed what you already knew deep down?
I just had a belief that I could do this thing, right?
Aw.
And it was validated through doing this. Like there was a lot that most people never think of, just the paperwork alone behind having a business and, making sure your taxes are in order and
Oh,
this and
yeah.
that. Those things go over a lot of people's heads. And, one thing I did learn is to be a little bit more organized, which has just helped all throughout the
Right.
rest of my life so far.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting journey. And it sounds like you've got a clear path forward, which is fantastic. But now we have, if you're game, the lightning round, where I'm going to ask you a
Okay.
couple of questions. You're just going to rattle off, nothing long. Just tell me what you think and on top of your head. Are you ready for this?
Sure, absolutely.
All right. What was harder than you expected when you first started selling online?
The hardest thing was learning that Google is the master of the internet, pretty much.
Very nice. Okay, so what is one business lesson you learned the expensive way?
To really give a lot of consideration to what banks and merchant processors that you want to partner with,
Yeah. Okay, good one. What is one thing customers taught you that no course or degree ever could?
that they don't read the instructions.
That's the best one so far. That's awesome. That is so true. Ay vey. That's funny. What is a founder habit that you swear by?
My calendar. Everything goes onto the calendar. Everything is written down. I don't trust my memory at this point for almost anything. I gotta write it down, or it's not gonna happen.
Wait till you hit menopause, Mark. Gets only worse. What is one myth people believe about e-commerce?
If you build it, they will come sort of place. It is not that at all. There's endless websites that have never been seen or heard. They get no traffic. You really need to go out there, just like as if you were a brick and mortar, and get in front of who your customer or, your ideal group of people, your community is, or else you will not be known.
Aw. Such great advice and great backstory to your successful journey in the vaping industry. So much appreciate your time. Give a shout out. Let our viewers know how they can reach you. Where's your website and how do we get in contact with you?
Yeah, you could go to discountvapepen.com. We have a nice contact form there. Honestly, if you go and open up the live chat, there's a pretty decent chance that I might be in there. I'm in there frequently. And then you could also reach me on LinkedIn at Marc with a C, Pitts, and, reach out to me there. Talk.
Awesome. Awesome. I will drop both those links in the show notes. So if you're watching or listening, look below and the links will be there. And Marc, thank you. Really good advice, great stories, and I appreciate your time so very much. So
Oh,
thank you
thank
for
you.
being on the show.
Thank you for having me. This
You
was
bet.
great.
All right. Thank you.
All right.